Hello, welcome to Culture Hash. Today we're going to talk about this new Drake compilation that's come out, Care Package. Care Package is a compilation of loose tracks that Drake has released over the space of his career. The timescale for these releases ranges from between 2010 and 2016. Songs like I Get Lonely and Paris Morton Music came out after Drake's first album, Thank Me Later. These early Drake tracks highlight his early career style, very melancholy, a lot of talk about women and taking him down the wrong direction in life. These early tracks are a bit more melodramatic than what we hear from Drake now. This is before he got the big muscles and he was a bit more braggadocious. I Get Lonely is based around the hook from TLC's Fan Mail, but it lacks this infectious 90s production that the TLC original had. And this feeds into the broader issue I have with Care Package. All of the tracks that I like, I've already heard, and the tracks that I hadn't heard that have been buried, like Can I and Heat of the Moment, there's a reason I haven't heard these songs, because they're not very good. I Get Lonely just feels a bit like a throwaway, a leftover. The problem with this project is that there's a lot of weak songs on here. I still enjoy the strong tracks as much as I did when I first heard them come out, like Dreams Money Can Buy, The Motion, 4 PM in Calabasas, and 5 AM in Toronto. On these tracks, you got some great verses from Drake. He's got a lot of passion and energy. He's like throwing subliminal shots at his rivals. And the reason these songs blew up is because they're actually good. It feels like Drake's just chucked out a load of these songs. Like I said, there's about 7 or 8 that are pretty decent on here, and the rest aren't that interesting and are quite forgettable. Let's compare this to Nas's Lost Tapes series, both of which are a collection of unreleased Nas tracks. Lost Tapes 1 had a coherent theme, it was really compelling, it felt like a cared for album by Nas, whereas Lost Tapes 2, which came out last week, is just like this project really. Nas has just chucked out a load of songs that were just sitting around in his studio, which means the project lacks the coherence and the quality of the original Lost Tapes. And on Care Package, Drake has taken a similar approach. Granted, it's nice to have tracks like Dreams Money Can Buy on the streaming platforms. 8 years later, Dreams Money Can Buy still sounds as fresh as it did. That J. Paul sample's fantastic, serves as a brilliant skeleton for the track. I still complain about the Rick Ross verse on Free Spirit. I've never been a fan of him, and when Free Spirit first came out, I actually cut Rick Ross's verse out of the version I listened to because he used to just wind me up so much. The downside to this version of Free Spirit is that it maintains the original lackluster Rick Ross verse. But I've got no such issues for Paris Morton Music, another early Drake classic. The 2010 track is essentially Drake's extended verse and hook from Aston Martin Music from Rick Ross's Teflon Don album. What I love about Paris Morton Music is that it takes the things that I like most about Aston Martin Music, Drake's verse and hook, makes it its own song, and I don't have to deal with any Rick Ross grunts or fake raps about being a police officer / drug kingpin. Just what I need. Everything I want. It's great to hear Draft Day again. This track's heavily built around Lauryn Hill's vocalizing from the end of Doo Wop. Drake repeated this trick by heavily sampling Lauryn Hill on Nice for What. So in a way, Draft Day is a bit of a precursor to that production style. I love his long verses on here, I love how he addresses his enemies, and I also enjoy some of the dated sports references to the likes of Johnny Manziel and Andrew Wiggins. Overall, Care Package is a mixed bag. It was fun to hark back to the early Drake days, songs like Club Paradise, when he was still working with The Weeknd, and pretty much stealing all of Weeknd's ideas to create this whole spacey, rappy R&B soundscape that we heard on Take Care. But for every Club Paradise, we've got songs like Can I. Can I just feels unfinished. It's built around this repetitive Beyonce sample. She says, can I? And then Drake will just rap around that. Can I? And then Drake will rap around it. It never really becomes engaging. It feels like the basis of what could be an interesting track that was just never seen through to completion. This project is just a collection of scattered tracks. I don't think it's ever been intended to listen to all the way through like an album. I certainly enjoyed hearing some of the older Drake tracks, but there are too many tracks that just feel forgettable and skippable. I never listened to tracks like Heat of the Moment that much when they came out, And to be reminded of them doesn't really do anything for me. It just reminds me that Drake sometimes just chucks out some throwaways before his albums to build up a bit of hype. And there are just too many of these mediocre tracks on Care Package to really keep my attention for the whole project. Drake just chucks out these throwaway tracks every now and then. His biggest one of these was probably Hotline Bling, which evolved into its own monster. It's probably too big to appear on a compilation album like this. It just shows that Drake likes to experiment and just chuck stuff out in between his albums just to see how that goes. So for me, Drake, Care Package, decent project, nice moments on here, but as an overall album, I'm gonna have to give it 6 out of 10.